Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. We're talking Blade Runner again, and this is a version I didn't even know existed. This is the Aquarelle Edition. Came out in 2013. It's a passion project, a little bit like that analog cut that I talked about last time. And one of my commenters on the analog cut, Will Drane, he said, "Hey man, this is awesome that you're doing all these different versions, these sort of out there versions of Blade Runner. You ever heard of the Aquarelle cut?" I thought, no, I haven't. So I had to look it up, and it was not easy to find, but I got a copy, and I wanted to discuss it. Now, what is Aquarelle? It's a water painting thing, and in 2013, Anders Ramsell painstakingly painted with watercolors, and you're going to see it all in a second, the movie Blade Runner, the original film. And it looks really far out there, trippy. It's kind of, it reminds me of, you know the Take On Me music video by a-ha? Imagine Blade Runner done that style. Not so much pencil sketch, but more watercolor and vibrant and weird, and a really, really interesting version of the film. It's only 35 minutes. It's like a Cole's Notes condensed down version, but it is the full film. So we're going to go into it and discuss it at length. I had to look it up. Anders Ramsell is a fan of Blade Runner who decided, yeah, I'm gonna paint my favorite scenes, or basically the entire movie almost. And he painstakingly made 12,597 paintings of frames of the film, spliced it all together, and took the soundtrack of the film, which unfortunately I'm going to have to keep the volume down on because I don't want to get a copyright strike. It is the original soundtrack. It's Harrison Ford and Sean Young and the rest of them, and all the music. But it's original Blade Runner done in a weird, weird style. So I thought, yeah, I've talked about all these other versions of Blade Runner. Let's check out the Aquarelle Edition. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the opening of the film, which is not the opening of the film. We got Deckard sitting there reading his newspaper, about to go up to the noodle bar. We don't yet see Bryant talking to Tyrell, or not Bryant. We don't yet see Leon talking to Holden. That happens here. So it's out of sequence and weirdly cut together in a strange way, but only at the beginning. Then the rest of it does kind of fall through with how the actual film goes. But you see what I mean? We've got the Voight-Comp test that Holden is giving Leon here, and it's strange looking. Like, I don't really get why this was done, but it looks really, really cool. Now, it's, as I say, a cut down, edited version. Like, a lot of lines of dialogue are just simply missing, and we cut to a lot of sequences really, really quickly. Interestingly, also, we hear the voices very slightly sped up, like almost Alvin and the Chipmunk style. If you're not familiar with the lines of dialogue like I am for many years, you may not notice it, but I hear a very slight, like they've sped up the sound a bit. Now again, I don't need to tell you the Blade Runner story or any of the plot. You know this movie, but just look at it. It's super weird. I'm actually, since Bryant is about to pour Deckard a drink, I'm just going to have a little old Johnny Walker myself here. Yeah, thanks goes out to Will Drane, because I had never heard, yeah, cheers. I had never heard of this version before, and I thought, what is the Aquarelle version? So, anyway, cheers to that. It takes some getting used to. I actually notice occasionally some of the frames, which are from the film, are repeating. So even though it's 12,597 paintings, I think occasionally Anders flips a couple back in. Maybe he found certain sequences, the pacing didn't work out, so he had to reinsert a couple of shots. But if you don't know the film, you would never notice that, so bizarre. Now, I did say that the whole film has got a lot of sequences reduced down. It's like shrunk in. A 35-minute version of a 2-hour film, you're going to be making a lot of cuts. But I noticed there's some sequences that are hardly touched at all, one of which is coming up. And I think I mean, clearly this is a passion project. Anders really loves Blade Runner in a way that, I mean, to painstakingly paint. Now, these are very rudimentary versions of what we're used to on celluloid, but to have done it with any kind of frame rate at all, and for it to be recognizable as Blade Runner, makes you think, the guy loves the show. Wow, big time. And there are some sequences that I appreciated he didn't really modify that much. There's one toward the end of the film which is pretty important and significant. I'll talk about it in a second, but I just thought to myself, well, why are certain bits not modified at all? This bit especially. You know, when the lights come down, Deckard sets out his machine, he's about to give Rachel the test. Even, there's the bit where Rachel flicks her lighter and it doesn't work right on the first go. Watch this. Even that is not modified. Like, there she goes, and then, I don't know if it was like an outtake that didn't happen or something, but she had to flick it twice. There are bits that are not really modified much, which is kind of strange. Hey, I did that. So what version of Blade Runner are we watching anyway? I've already talked about how there's dozens of versions of this film, or seems like. What is the maker, who painted this? What version is he cutting together? I think it's the final cut from Ridley Scott from the box set, because in this sequence here, we don't see Tyrell's thumb. I've talked about that before. So I think maybe this is that cut, and then it's just been modified, because it only came out in 2012, or 2012 was when he was painting all of these frames and stuff. So I think he took the most recent version, the official cut from Ridley Scott, and he made it this one. It's a little bit strange though, because one of the pivotal scenes is missing, kinda. When I saw this bit, when J.F. Sebastian runs into Pris, I was kind of chuckling to myself, because I remember saying the very first time I ever saw Blade Runner was on like a scrambled pay-per-view channel, movie channel, and it looked a little wacky. And this sequence, I remember seeing it like in posterized reverse, and so to see it this way made me think, oh yeah, that's like the first time I ever saw Blade Runner. And here's what I was saying before about how this is what version. This is the sequence where Deckard is sitting there about to get the photos into the Esper machine. There's no unicorn sequence. Like, since pretty much the director's cut in the early mid-2000s, there's always been the unicorn at this bit. He doesn't have it. I don't know why. I think that's an interesting choice. As we all know, we all have many different opinions on the unicorn sequence, but in this cut, it's not there, kind of. What's also interesting is the Esper sequence is pretty much the original cut. Again, he really loves allowing long sequences to play through. The unicorn sequence does exist in this cut here at the very beginning of the movie, before you see the Aquarelle Edition. So it's, and there you go. See, like, there is a reference to it, but that's the only time the unicorn sequence is seen. At the end of the film, we still see the little tinfoil unicorn, but any reference to it is gone. We're into the film and it's never there. Anyway, so back to the continuity as we understand it. We're at Taffy Lewis's, even though you can barely make out some of the bits. There are some sequences that really don't lend themselves well to this strange painting version of stuff. Any foggy, smoky scenes, it's just not really worth doing. And when Deckard talks to Rachel on the vid phone, you can hear her voice, but you can't see her with beans on the screen. So that's kind of a weird element to all of this. On the topic of things that are hard to see, and what version are we watching? The famous bit where Harrison Ford passes behind Sean Young and his eyes get caught by the same light. That bit, I can't really tell. Are his eyes glowing? Is it that way? Or is it like the analog cut where it's been reduced and now it's not glowing? I don't know. Hard to say. Now, here's a very interesting bit that speaks to the guy must have just loved doing this project, even though it may not have been worthwhile at times. In this whole sequence between Roy Batty and Tyrell, it's painted and the dialogue is playing, but you can't see anything. I'll give him credit for at least going through the paces and painting all of the scenes where you may not have really felt the need to do so, because like half of this is kind of hard to make out, and yet he painted it, he went through it whole hog. Now this whole sequence coming up, really, I thought it was very touching and very interesting. He has cut through a lot of sequences, he's sort of glossed over a lot of stuff, but this whole sequence here where Batty is looking at Pris's dead body, in the movie it's beautifully acted by Rutger Hauer, the music is swelling, and it's sort of central to why Batty goes crazy and wants to kill Deckard, we assume. It's played fully here, like it's allowed to run organically just like it is in the film. Interesting choice, fantastic. Now at the end here, where Batty jumps from one building to another, it looks dark like it is in the final cut version, so I thought, okay, yeah, much like Tyrell's thumb missing on the shoulder, it's the final cut version. But when he's sitting cross-legged and he lets go of the pigeon, dove, whatever it is, the bird, it's almost looks like the original theatrical cut. Now again, maybe because items in the background are too hard to paint with any kind of detail, and it's just a single black background. You do see the bird, but the pipes and stuff that were in the foreground are weirdly missing, or I'll let you watch it and see if you can see what I mean. It looks like the original 80s version when the dove flies away into the sky here. See what I mean? It looked like the original theatrical version. Anyway, I'm just gonna let that run. That is Blade Runner, the Aquarelle version. So, the fellow who created it, apparently he started in March of 2011, and he wasn't finished until November of 2012. It took a year and a half to paint 12,597 images, paintings, to go practically frame by frame. I mean, it's a very low frame rate, but just think of the amount of work that must have been involved to put this entire film together. And for what? It's not like it had a theatrical release, I don't think, I don't know. So yeah, here we go. There is Blade Runner, the Aquarelle version. Never knew it existed, and now I've seen it. Very strange. I guess on that point, there's maybe one more video I can do for the original Blade Runner. And I might transition toward the 2049 film, but let's see. I've got one more idea, and if other people come up with more suggestions like this one, please let me know, because the more we can talk about the original film, the better. Anyway, there's the other unicorn sequence. All right, well, until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.